What is going on? Welcome to XconMedia, man. I'm sitting up here watching the uh, YW in Melly, or whatever the initials is. I'm sitting here watching it. You know, everybody's curious about it. So I see all these lawyers live streaming it. But hey, okay, we back. I see all these lawyers live streaming it. But hey, we're going to give it to you from a person that has been incarcerated in the past. That is my life many, many years ago. All right, many years ago. So we're going to tap in. We're going to watch the trial. We're going to tap in. We're going to watch a little bit of the trial, man. My take on it, man. YNW Melly is charged with 2 counts of murder. They tried to say somebody shot into the car. Shell casing was found in the car. Um, so that's the extent of the evidence. We're gonna tap in right now so we can see what's going on, man. We tapping in. We tapping in. Judge coming in. We fast forwarding.
We're walking shoulder to shoulder. In terms of the time frame of that morning, when is this statement with Mr. Henry taking place?
The statement with Mr. Henry, well, I got at the hospital at 5, and I believe it was at 6:05 when we started the interview.
And so between 5 and 6 a.m., the area between 172 back east to 160th has already been searched.
That was, I believe, prior to me getting there. They had searched from I-75 to Dykes, 160th. And then after I left the hospital, because that's why you hear in the interview us talking about, well, we didn't find anything, because that was the initial area that was searched. And so then after I left the hospital, I met, there's a Walgreens on the northwest corner of Dykes and Miramar Parkway. We met there with about 20 officers or so. There were sergeants, CSAs, road officers, traffic unit, and I told them I wanted block off Miramar Parkway from 160th all the way to 172, the westbound lanes, and eventually we did that. But prior to that, Detective Moretti and Toyota drove Cortland to the area to get it better. A lot of the interview, that's what we were trying, that was important for us to find a location and jurisdiction.
So is it clear there's actually 2 searches done between I-75 and 172?
Well, actually 3.
Could you
There
explain?
was 175, I-75 to Dykes, 160th. Then I was involved personally from 160th to 172. I assisted in walking that area also with, I think...
That's the 20 officers you were talking about?
Well, the 20 officers to block off everything, and then we had I think a dozen officers, including myself, that actually walked from 160th. This was a second search. And then once we finished that one, they continued from 172 to...
Is that the 184th we discussed earlier?
Right, exactly.
So going to the search from 160th
If you just tapping in, man, we with the YNW Melly double murder trial. I'm trying to give it to you from the perspective of somebody that has been in the streets and incarcerated. So we gonna listen in because I see so many lawyers live streaming, and lawyers, they went to school for this, they went to school for that. But I'm giving you the perspective from somebody that has been behind the wall. What I'm seeing when I see why Melly sitting at that table, he's scared. He fighting for his life. You know what I'm saying? So he in a lot of trouble because I believe they going for the death penalty down there. So he's sitting there, scared straight. Believe that. But let's listen in.
Get to 172. You testified previously.
Come on, man. You're doing us a disservice to the channel too. If you're not liking, like it, share it. Get somebody out here, man, because I always got a good message, whether it's business, whether it's stopping and avoiding the life of crime, whatever it is, I got a good message for you. So make sure you like and follow, man. And if y'all want to see more content like this, man, I need to know it in the comments, man. Come on, let's get it.
Obviously, it's a mile distance.
Yes.
How long did it take to conduct that search of that mile with the 12 officers?
It took us about an hour to do it because we would stop along the way. We would find a little debris, kind of look at it to see what it was and that kind of stuff. And essentially we walked shoulder to shoulder, kind of like,
Okay. Did you find any shell casings?
No.
Any glass fragments?
No.
Any projectiles?
No.
Any tire marks?
No.
Any sort of impact or anything on the median that would indicate a crash or recent friction?
No.
The next thing that you did you continue on from 172 to 184 of that mile-long search?
Other officers continued that search.
But were you there personally?
No.
At that point, did you travel to a location in Fort Lauderdale, Florida?
Yes.
And would that be 805 Northeast 4th Avenue?
I believe so, yes.
When you arrived at 805 Northeast 4th Avenue, what was that?
That was a recording studio, kind of like in a warehouse district.
When you went there, did you make contact with the management and the owner-operator of that business?
Detective Taylor did.
Once you went to that studio, did you determine the name to be New Era?
Yes.
After you went to New Era, did you review the surveillance footage that was collected from New Era?
At one point I did.
Okay. I'm now approaching what's been previously marked as stage G for identification purposes only.
Yes.
Detective Bertrand, is that the studio footage that you recovered from New Era on October 26th of 2018 along with Detective Toyota?
Yes.
Does it fairly and accurately depict the studio footage that you reviewed of October 26th of 2018?
Yes.
At this time, the state requesting stage G in.
No objection? Okay. It'll be admitted.
Stage G, we want stage number 7.
Thank you. Permission to publish?
Yes, you may publish, you're looking to have a live stream?
Yes, please, Your Honor. And so, Detective Bertrand, are there a number of clips on this particular footage that you retrieved?
Detective Taylor was the one that downloaded it, but I reviewed it all there also.
Okay. I only at this point am going to publish the exterior from channel 4, 2018, 1026, 02, 17, 41.
Excuse me, you're able to see? Yes, all right.
Detective Bertrand, in your experience in collecting and reviewing surveillance footage over the course of your career as a homicide detective, is the time always accurate?
No.
Is it your recollection that this was off by 1 hour due to time
Objection.
adjusted?
What's the objection?
Foundation.
Stand, rephrase.
When this video was recovered, was there a determination made as to how far off the time was from mail time?
Same objection. Watch come sidewalk.
See all that conference stuff. All that conference stuff always scared me. When I went to trial, I've been to jury trial. All that walking up to the bench. Your Honor, may I approach the bench? This is my trial. Why are you talking about stuff and I cannot hear you? I can't hear you. What y'all up there talking about? That's what I've been thinking if I was him. Like, that's what I've been thinking about. Like, what are they talking about? Why I can't hear? Oh, let me approach the bench too. You know what I'm saying? This is all the scary stuff. You don't know what they doing. They is playing with your life. That's what they doing. But you gave them the ammunition to play with your life. You gave them the ammunition. So he over there sitting over there. His lawyer even up there. Look at him. He look like he's a scared little church mouse, man. This man facing, I believe, the death penalty.
Detective
This
Bertrand,
ain't no game.
you arrived on scene with
This ain't
Detective
no game
Toyota.
when your life on the line. For
Was
real.
there a process in which you determined the time of which the DVR was currently recording it and the difference to the actual time?
I really wasn't involved in that portion of it.
So you wouldn't be the best person to ask?
No.
Understood. Prior to viewing this footage, had there ever been any mention of a fourth person in the gray Jeep?
No,
After you went to this location, did you travel back to Miramar?
we did.
And where did you go when you went back to Miramar?
We went to the office, which is in the clubhouse of Sunset Lakes.
And at that point, did you obtain surveillance footage from there?
Detective Toyota did.
And we're gonna get that in for a different witness, so. Okay. Moving on to October 28th of 2018. Did you go out of town? I'm sorry, October 27th, 2018. Did you go out of town to help further interviews in this case?
I accompanied Detective Toyota, Moretti, and I believe Toyota and Tomlin.
Okay.
We
When,
went to Vero Beach.
okay, when you went to Vero Beach, did you record those interviews up there?
No,
Do you remember who you spoke with?
I didn't speak to anyone. I stayed, I believe the Detective Moretti conducted all the interviews. I stayed outside and I think in like a kitchen area, kitchen, living room area. And I just hung out with the family that was there.
Did you provide your contact information to the family?
I believe I did, yes. I left the card.
Specifically, Nakia Bagley, that individual, did you provide your contact information?
Yes,
Did Ms. Bagley late without saying what she sent you? On the next day, October 20th, did Ms. Bagley send you text messages?
let me go back. I'm not sure, I know I left the card, I'm not sure if it was her. I left my card at the house.
So that was on October 27th.
Yes,
So on October 28th of 2018, without going into what was sent to you, did you receive text messages from the family members of one of the deceased?
yes,
Okay. Now, going forward on November 2nd of 2018, did you attend a memorial service or funeral in this
Hit that
case?
like button if
I
you
did.
just joined the
Is that
channel.
common as
Hit
a
the
homicide
like button. I
detective?
need all
it
that.
is.
Why would you do
I
that?
need all that. We highlight.
One, show respect, and two, looking for information. Sometimes family members will come and approach us and talk to us. Friends, they'll come that previously didn't know about us, but now they see us there and they approach us.
Were you able to determine or develop any other leads yourself at that memorial service for
No.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Okay. Moving forward to November 8th of 2018, when the first batch of phone records came in, did you take additional investigative steps?
I accompanied Detective Moretti. He asked me, based on some phone records that he got back, he asked me if I could accompany him to search an area. And we did. We went out to US 27th, Cherry Orton.
Please, and so you
We went to, first place we drove to was Holiday Park, which is a trailer park north of Pines Boulevard on the left-hand side of US 27th,
when you say left hand, do you mean
west side.
the west side? Okay,
West side.
understand that.
Yeah.
And describe to ladies and gentlemen of the jury how populated that is.
It's a trailer park, so obviously the construction is not like a house, it's not fortified or what have you, and it's pretty densely populated with a lot of trailers and stuff like that.
In your statement with Mr. Henry, you alluded to some investigation of the sheriff's office off of I-95 and Hollandale Beach Boulevard.
Yes.
As a detective in the homicide bureau, was it common to reach out to other jurisdictions for information?
Yes, I think while we were there, we got some information of
Objection. Hearsay. Sustained as to what the information was.
So with regards to the trailer park, did you find any evidence of a shooting that had occurred at that trailer park?
no,
Did any witnesses come forward and speak to you at the trailer park?
no,
Were there any ballistic signs at the trailer park that there'd been any shooting?
no. In fact, we kind of concluded that based on the construction of the trailers and stuff like that, and the amount of damage bullets that were fired at the car, it was our belief that someone would have called if it happened there.
So going forward to November 21st of 2018, did you have the occasion to respond to US 27 and Pembroke Road?
That was a second search that we did.
And when you responded to there, who was present?
Detective Moretti, Detective Toyota, Detective Smith, I believe Detective Tomlin was there, I was there, and there were some canine officers from Fort Lauderdale PD.
When you were there, did you personally collect any evidence?
No.
Who would have done that?
Crime scene,
Why is that?
because that's their job.
As a homicide detective, do you collect evidence?
Sometimes, but we always have crime scene. If they're there, Under certain circumstances, we may, if crime scene wasn't there and we couldn't get them out.
And other than the investigation at US 27 that you were present for and Pembroke Road, do you have any other involvement in this case?
No, going back to the one on the November 8th, we also searched from Pembroke Road. After we left the trailer park, we went back to Pembroke Road, and Detective Moretti and I walked from Pembroke Road all the way to Taft, north on Taft to Taft, and then back. That was about 2 miles. We walked the northbound lanes and then southbound lanes, and we didn't find anything.
And that's again on US 27?
On US 27.
Okay. Nothing further at this time, Chairman.
Counsel, is there any cross-examination of this witness?
Yes, please, Your Honor. Thank you. Detective Gettr. Good afternoon.
How soon after the car arrived at the hospital would you say you got involved in the investigation?
Well, at 5 o'clock in the morning is when I got called out. I don't have the actual incident report to see when the call was dispatched, but I got to the hospital at 5:47 is when I arrived at the hospital.
So you got there within an hour?
Yeah, 47 minutes exactly.
Okay.
Of when I got called out.
Okay. And your first assignment or the first task that you undertook was, the first substantive task was to interview Mr. Henry, Cortland Henry, set?
Yeah, well, the first thing was I got briefed by the officer.
If you just tapping in, welcome to my channel. Hit the like button so we can get this thing out here. We are covering the YNW QZ XYZ Melly murder trial down there in Florida. He's screaming self-defense. I don't know what he's screaming, but we're trying to check him out. Trial is a very, very, very hard thing to do and to go through. And I advise anybody out there that's trying to make motion and all that, and you mess around and catch one of these big cases and these folks offering you 20, 30, 40 years, life sentence. I'm telling you, 2050, 2060, that's a long way away. Who knows if the world will still be here, man. So y'all need to take and pay attention to these trials, man, because it is a very, very scary thing. At some point, they're going to show Melly over there sitting there looking like he ready to cry. You know what I'm saying? Trying to hold his composure together, fighting for his life, while the judges, the DAs, and the lawyers got his life in his hand. Yeah, let's check him out.
Officers that were there that told me by search of the area, just in case he was mistaken.
Sure. But even before you took him out to the scene, you were making, during the process of your, would you define your interaction and your exchange with Mr. Henry as an interview or an interrogation?
It was an interview.
At that time, you didn't perceive him to be a suspect.
No.
You perceived him to be a victim.
Yes.
But you're also of the impression that he was being dishonest with you because, I mean, several times throughout your statement, we can say, hey, you know, there's a problem. You might not want to lie to us, right?
Well, we also had misinformation in reference to an incident that happened on the east side of this city in BSO jurisdiction, which we thought could have been involved, but we later found out it wasn't. So we were mistaken about that. So we were just trying to get, it was important for us to find the location, one, because of evidence, you know, to look for evidence that would help us with the case. And the second reason was jurisdiction.
Sure. But I mean, you're a seasoned detective, right? You're retired now.
Yes, sir.
So at the time that this transpired, you were, how long were you in the force?
26 years,
And how long have you been a detective?
24 years.
And how long have you been a homicide detective?
About 13.
So it would be fair to say that you had a dual purpose during that interview. You were trying to, or at least three purposes. You were trying to determine the boundaries of jurisdiction, right?
Correct.
You were trying to identify the location that this incident took place.
Yes, sir.
The jurisdiction.
Yes, sir.
And also to further your investigation.
That's correct.
And you're also trying to get a gauge of whether the person to whom you were speaking was involved or not involved. Right?
Yes.
Fair.
Yes.
I mean, the number of times that you implied to him that he might be being dishonest as opposed to merely mistaken. You heard the tape earlier, right? You recall.
I didn't have a preconceived notion as to whether he was being dishonest or not. We had some mistaken information. Maybe that's where it came across that way, that there was an incident on the east side, which we later found out it wasn't. We were just trying to find out the location where it happened.
So when you were telling him stuff like, hey, you know, if it was my friend, I'd really want to help the law enforcement officers out. I mean, don't you want to help your friend? You weren't trying to get him to be candid. You were trying to get him to reach into the depths of his recollection. Is that what you're trying to do?
I would say probably both.
Okay, so you were trying to make an assessment of his credibility throughout the course of this exchange.
Sure.
Fair, right?
Sure.
Okay, so you, I mean, having been a detective for so long, you kind of have a BS meter. You refer to, I don't want to be BS, right?
Yes, sir.
You figure you have a BS meter that's pretty well calibrated.
I guess.
Was it going ding, 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 ding?
Like I said, I was trying to find out where the incident happened.
I understand.
And that was basically it.
I'm trying to ask if your BS meter was starting to be triggered throughout the course of this exchange. That's my question.
I guess.
It was.
Sure.
Okay. So therefore you did discern that this man to whom you were speaking, this man that you were interviewing, not interrogating, may be taking you for a ride. Right? That's the ding, ding, ding part that you
I don't know if, like I said, I was at that point, he was a victim. I had no reason to believe otherwise. We were basically trying to narrow down the location. I also understand that being shot at is a traumatic experience based on what he's saying. And that's why we had him, he was transported to the scene to see if we can narrow down the location.
Okay. So it would be fair to say that your BS meter did not go off and you did not form the impression that he was being evasive in the manner in which he was answering your questions in the tape that we all just heard.
Well, there are some things that, that's why I asked him, trying to gauge whether one of the questions that I asked him was, if you knew who did this, would you tell me? To see his response. So I guess if you want to call that a BS meter or whatever, I'm just trying to gauge if he's being truthful with me, if he's hiding something. We asked him all kinds of questions, whether it was a drug deal, whether he had a beef with someone on 75. All kinds of questions, trying to gauge what could have happened. We're also trying to find out why it happened and any other things that he might be leaving out. Sometimes it's, like I said, a shooting is a traumatic thing, and
Fair to say, sometimes when you leave out information, it's inadvertent and sometimes it's deliberate.
correct, and we have to explore that.
And you were trying to figure out which one,
Correct.
but you drew no conclusions throughout the course of the.
Later we did. Later when we didn't find anything and when we saw the video, we knew that where he told us it happened, it didn't happen.
Okay, well, you perceived him to be scared because you suggested maybe you're scared. Is that what you had perceived? Or did you perceive him to just be evasive? Which one? Or neither?
I didn't draw a conclusion. I'm trying to ask him questions, again, to have him open up, see what could be him being hesitant, or if he's leaving something out, or just exploring different avenues.
Okay. What about the part when he told you that he didn't have a phone? Did that seem curious to you?
Actually, I didn't even think about it, but now it sounds kind of weird, but I didn't even think about it at the time.
You know anybody without a phone? It's not living under a bridge.
No.
Okay. So at that time, this information, this indication, this loud indication that maybe he is deceiving you, it didn't occur to you now, but upon reflection, you would say it's now occurring to you, now that I put the question.
It's easy to Monday morning quarterback when you have a lot of time. We're in the middle. My goal at that time was to find out the location, okay, so that we can look for evidence and jurisdiction. Those were the two main things at that time. And then obviously why, and get some background information as to why it could happen and things like that.
I understand that, and just to further your analogy, I would submit that during the process of this exchange, when somebody tells you, an adult male tells you, I don't have a phone, that being curious is not Monday morning quarterback. That's like missing somebody wide open in the end zone, right? But it didn't occur to you.
No, really at that time, it wasn't maybe later on it could have been something that Detective Moretti would have considered, but at that time, like I told you, what my priorities were, at least for me.
I noticed you mentioned Detective Moretti. It's not something that would have occurred to you. Was it fair to say that Detective Moretti was the one making the investigative decisions on the case?
I called him to be the lead detective because we had, like I stated earlier, we had an agreement between the homicide detectives. I was 2 years left before it was almost 2 years exactly to the time to retire. So the agreement was that if I got called out, the other guys in the homicide unit would take over the investigation and that I would assist to avoid exactly me having to come back.
Yeah, and it didn't work.
It didn't work out.
Sorry about that. But you're not suggesting that the fact that you weren't lead meant that if your investigative instincts suggested that certain actions be taken, that you wouldn't suggest that to Moretti. You're not saying that.
Again, I don't know how many times I'm going to explain it. To me, at that point, we were trying to find out the location and try and get some historic stuff like that.
Okay, so we're past the phone thing. I'm just saying, as a general concept, your perception vis-a-vis Detective Moretti's wouldn't be because he's the lead, that if something occurred to you, you would not convey it to him. You wouldn't keep it to yourself, you'd
No,
convey it.
we would discuss.
Okay, so, there came a point later where you took Mr. Cortland Henry, or at least Detective Moretti did, out to the scene, so there would be no mistake as to where he said it, right?
Detective Moretti and Detective Two drove into the scene.
So now we don't have the possible disconnect between what he's describing and what you perceived. Now he's saying it happened in this location, wherever it is that he took it, right?
You would have to ask Detective Moretti what was discussed. They just told me, I believe it was like in the area of 163rd and Miramar Parkway, but we started, like I said, on 160th and proceeded westbound.
And law enforcement exerted a lot of effort, searched there, found nothing.
Correct.
Now you know this guy is not telling you the truth, I'm sure, right?
Well, at least that it didn't happen.
Okay. So at least he's not telling you the truth as to the location of the incident, right?
Correct.
And he told you where he lived. I think early on in the transcript, he told you the address on 44th Street, right?
Yes, sir.
And it occurred to you, of course, that maybe we should go and execute a search warrant on that location just to make sure that we are investigating the possible people that are involved. Did that occur to you at the time?
No, I didn't do a search warrant in that location.
Well, I know you did. I'm asking whether it occurred to you that you should have.
No.
And based upon your being in and around Moretti, you never heard him suggest maybe we go do that.
In order to get a search warrant, you have to have probable cause that a crime was committed there. And at this point, we had no evidence that the crime was committed at the house to get a search warrant.
You need evidence, probable cause to determine that a crime was committed at the house, or you needed probable cause to determine that possible evidence of a crime may be retrieved from that location.
Correct. Well, yes. Yes to both of those.
Right. And so the gentleman who shows up at the hospital telling lies with two deceased people in his car, it doesn't occur to you that the place he goes directly next might be a source for you to find evidence, right?
We had no evidence that he went to the house.
Where'd he go?
According to him, to the hospital.
Where'd he go after that?
I have no idea.
Was that a bit of concern?
We went to different areas. We went to other places. No, we didn't go there.
Okay, so I don't mean to be disrespectful, but you now have somebody who has presented himself with two dead bodies, lied to law enforcement, had a long interview where he's taking you around in circles and being evasive, and where he leaves, and you know.
Action council testifying as to answer.
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
Okay. Didn't occur to you to search, to track where he may be going and conduct a search warrant because it might be fruitful.
No.
At the time that somebody at least determined that Cortland Henry may have been involved in this tragedy, you were already off the case?
I believe I already testified to my involvement in it, so that the items that we covered was my involvement in the case, period.
Okay. So as you recall, at the time that you disengaged from further involvement in the case, Cortland Henry had not yet been identified as a potential suspect. If you recall.
No.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Thanks. Sir, the location that Cortland Henry identified as his residence was also the place he identified as the residence of the two victims.
Yes, sir.
And that didn't trigger you to think maybe to search that location either?
No.
Okay. Tell me again about Walmart. Do you remember what Cortland Henry told you about Walmart?
He described some incident at Walmart.
And the reason that you were asking him, I think explicitly, was that you were trying to determine whether or not there could be any other people who may have had a motive to engage in the offense.
Correct.
And he told you about an altercation that took place at Walmart.
Yes, sir.
And you know, of course, that Walmart has surveillance tapes.
Yes, sir.
And so when did you go and retrieve those tapes?
I don't know if Detective Murray did.
If you were making the call, would you have done so?
I don't know if there was no connection to it at the time. I don't know if I would have or would not.
Because you do realize you asked him that very question for that very reason.
He also said that there was nothing to it, that as best as I recall,
He said the beef was squashed.
it was, yes.
So you said, okay, well, and then that settles it.
Well, I didn't say anything. I thought,
And you didn't do it.
I didn't know.
That complete your cross-examination, counsel?
I think so, sir, but I'm being vacant. Remember the reference to a guy named Bentley in the statement, that there was a beef with a guy named Bentley? You don't recall?
No.
Okay. Because we listened to the statement earlier, and that statement said the beef was squashed with Bentley. It didn't say that the beef was squashed with the Walmart. Right?
I don't recall.
Okay. So you just know that you didn't go and check up on either one.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
Counsel, is there any redirect?
That's right. Detective Bertrand, does surveillance footage exist forever?
No.
Is there a retention time frame in which you have to be able to go to whatever location to retrieve it?
In most cases, from a week or two to 30 days max.
Did Mr. Henry give you any more idea of a time frame as to when this Walmart incident happened?
If he did, it's contained, I don't recall. at this point.
Council asked you a lot about getting a search warrant for the house.
Correct.
Do you have any information whatsoever that would lead you to believe the defendant, Mr. Demons, or Mr. Henry had been at the house?
No,
Where did all the investigation point to they had been
in the car.
with regards to the recording studio? Did you go there and retrieve the evidence from that location of the
Yes.
video? No. Did you get a warrant just based on belief,
No,
on a hope and a prayer?
no.
What do you need?
You need probable cause and evidence that items of the crime are there.
Did you have anything to base that on to go to a judge and ask for a search warrant at that time?
No,
Do you know how long the defendants lived there before they were evicted? If you don't know when they were evicted, that's
I
fine.
don't recall.
Council brought up a lot about Mr. Henry being evasive or not wanting to answer questions. You asked some questions of him. Did you think he was going to try and exact street justice?
Repeat that again, I'm sorry?
Did you think Mr. Henry was going to
Objection
try
to the leading. I don't know about leading, sustain the objection.
with regards to the questions you asked of Mr. Henry, did you ask if he was going to take any actions into his own hands?
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
This witness excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Hold on. Thank you, sir. You may step down. You're excused. Who's your next witness, counsel?
Morgan Curry?
Outside.
Yes, sir.
Bring in Morgan Curry, please.
Man, I swear these trials, I'm telling you, boys, a lot of nuances to these trials, man. And these cats be going out here committing these crimes and they just don't know what they facing. Because 9 times out of 10, they sit you down and crank up the jury, take it to trial, you in trouble. You in trouble. It's gonna be a lot of stuff come out. I'm telling you, this is coming from a person whose life was on the line. I did this 2 times. There would not be a third. You understand that? This is a scary situation, man. That boy's sitting over there fighting for his life. He is facing the death penalty for 2 murders.
Good afternoon.
His
Are
whole
you
life
Morgan Curry?
is basically done
This is our witness
if he
stand.
don't get
Come up
found
here.
not guilty.
When you get to the stand, you put your things down, but just remain standing.
Trial
Raise
stuff
your right
ain't
hand
no
and be
joke.
sworn.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth,
Probably run 100 or so
State your
witnesses
full name
in the courtroom. So if y'all
spell your
want me
first and
to
last name.
keep it rolling, I need some likes, I need some views. I'll be right back tomorrow if y'all giving me the views that I need to keep it going now. Let's go. Hit the like button.
Madam, that microphone will adjust up or down, not back and forth. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Counsel, you may proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Curry. How are you today?
Good afternoon.
Where do you currently work?
With the Naval Criminal Investigative Service,
What do you do for the Naval Criminal Investigative Service?
I conduct criminal felony investigations, also hold arrest authority.
And in terms of your job description, what area or specialized station do you?
Yes, so specialize in cold cases as well as in forensic consultant for the Naval Criminal Investigative Service.
What does that mean to be a forensic consultant for the Naval Criminal Investigative Service?
Yes. Handle any type of forensic expertise or crime scene processing.
Okay, and the crime scene processing that you do, what types of training and experience do you have to do that from NCIS? And not the TV show, just to be clear.
Correct. Received over 210 hours of formal training in crime scene processing and documentation, to also include photography, the collection of evidence, the processing of evidence, collection of DNA, fingerprinting, various other forensic principles. I also received a bachelor's degree prior to NCIS, but specifically within NCIS. just the formal training of documenting and collecting evidence.
Prior to working for NCIS, where were you employed?
With the Miramar Police Department,
How many years were you with the Miramar Police Department?
about 4 years.
And the 4 years that you were there with Miramar, what different job titles did you hold?
Started out as a evidence and property custodian for 2 years, and then was promoted to a crime scene technician for 2 years.
And so what were your job description as an evidence custodian?
Evidence custodian, so collecting as well as storing any type of incoming evidence or property for the department.
Okay, and then once you were promoted to crime scene technician, how did your job description change?
It included the same responsibilities as the evidence and property custodian, but it changed a bit as far as going out to various scenes to collect, process, as well as document or photograph crime scenes.
Did you take classes or trainings?
Yes, I did.
And so what ones did you take at Miramar Police Department?
Specifically at Miramar, completed a 16-week on-the-job training with crime scene documentation, as well as photography and other crime scene principle training. And then also throughout my employment there within the 2 years, just continued with additional advanced trainings.
Okay. You mentioned that you had a bachelor's degree as well. What was that in?
Also in forensics with a minor in anthropology.
And where did you get that?
Florida Gulf Coast University.
And what year?
2014.
Did you also obtain a master's degree?
Yes, I did.
And in 2017, where did you obtain your master's degree from?
From Nova Southeastern University.
And in what field of study?
Department of Homeland Security was the concentration, but it was the degree was titled National Security Affairs.
With regards to your involvement in this case, on October 26th of 2018, you were involved in the investigation regarding Miramar case number 18-10-020629. And what was your job description for this case?
I was a crime scene technician in this case.
Were you the only crime scene technician?
No, there were several others.
So walk the ladies and gentlemen jury through how you first became involved.
First involvement was contacted by our dispatch unit to respond to assist with processing the scene.
And when you are contacted, are you at home? Are you on shift?
I would have to refer back to my report to specifically know for this case. But normally what happens is either contacted by phone and or if we're on our radio, we're contacted via radio.
Do you respond directly to the hospital in this case?
Yes, I did.
What is the first thing you do when you get to the hospital?
Meeting with the detective that's on scene, if they're on scene, and or the lead officer that's there to debrief on whatever my assistance is needed for.
Okay, and so what tasks were you assigned once you spoke with the officers and detectives on scene?
I was specifically tasked with photographing and documenting the individuals that were there at the hospital.
When you say the individuals that were there, were they living or deceased?
Deceased.
Did you have any involvement or contact with Cortland Henry, who would be a living individual?
Not to my knowledge.
Did you have any contact with the defendant in this case, Jamel Simmons?
No.
So I'm going to start and go through when you're documenting the scene at the hospital. How do you do that?
First starts with speaking with the detective or officer that's there to kind of brief on the case. Then from there, we start with photography. It will also include photographing the scene, photographing the important information and or evidence, documenting via notes, so taking notes as far as address, other pertinent information, and then also if there's collection of evidence, just making sure that you document what evidence you're collecting and transporting it appropriately.
In terms of the number of photographs that you take, I'm not asking you exactly how many, but how is it? Voluminous?
Could you use a different word?
Sure. Do you take a bunch of them?
Yes. So, yes.
Is there any particular pattern that you do when you're taking these photographs?
Yes. So we start with overalls. So that just includes an overall depiction of the scene. to include, again, addresses or any type of location information that there is there. And then we move into mid-ranges. So if there's any specific mid-ranges that ties what you're focusing on and you're seeing to specific pieces of evidence, you would start there. And then if there is something that needs a close-up photograph, we then move into close-ups.
And you follow that same process, whether you're documenting a person, a place, or a thing?
That is correct.
In this case, you mentioned collecting evidence. Can you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you do when you're collecting a piece of evidence?
So when you're collecting a piece of evidence, you would start initially by documenting it with notes, and then from there photographing it. And then if there's photographing it in that same sequence. So overall is where it's located, mid-range, and then close-ups. After that, you would then collect it and bag it appropriately to be transported from the scene.
Okay, so I want to go back now. When you're collecting it, what do you do to ensure there's no contamination of the evidence?
So we always make sure to have PPE, personal protection equipment. So that includes things like gloves, masks, face mask if needed, a tie-bed suit, which would be kind of like a coverall suit to protect your clothing and or to protect the specific pieces of evidence to be contaminated with the items on your clothing. And so then from there, we would bag them into specific pieces of bagging materials. It could be paper, it could be plastic.
So Investigator Curry, is there a reason why paper bags are used or plastic bags are used?
Yes, so we use paper because it is a porous material, being a breathable material. Any type of biohazard evidence that you're collecting should be in a porous material, some type of paper material so that it can breathe, so that it's not contaminated with mold or other bacterial items.
So if items are damp or moist or wet in any way, how do you deal with that as a crime scene technician?
Yep, so we do have sterilized dryers. So any type of items that are wet at the time, we do transport them in that paper, that breathable material, and then from there, it goes over to our drying chamber to be dried.
After they are dried, do you package them again?
Correct. After they're dried, they are packaged in that paper material.
And with regards to our courtroom presentation, are there occasions in which the clothing is placed between clear plastic to make it easier to handle and deal with in court?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm going to start. I'm going to approach here.
Let me approach very briefly.
Yes.
Sorry.
We use short recess, do not discuss the case, don't form any opinion about the case, don't allow anyone to discuss the case in the presence of no research, just leave your notepads on your chairs. Thank you. Thank you. Let the record reflect the year step down. Councilman Manuel with the pen. Simmons, you need your restroom ready? No, you're good? All right. Council, just so you know, sometime when I put the language on, we had a conversation, he's not facing me, I can't do it, when that's what I just said, not offending anybody, it's good here. Okay, all right, no, it's no problem, we're in recess.
Appreciate it.
Well, when it come to that trial stuff, man, that thing is serious, man. It come to that trial stuff. It's super serious, man. That boy sitting over there, he's scared for his life. I don't care how calm and cool and collective he over there looking. Trust me when I tell you, he is over there with the bubble guts. He is facing at least 2 life sentences. I think they're going for the death penalty. So when it comes to these damn jury trials, man, how these folks be out here in the street, man, these 17, 18, 19-year-olds, man, they be out here in these streets doing all this dumb stuff, man, killing folks and robbing folks, man. Hey, these charges with these guns, any charge with a firearm, oh, why this boy? Hey, hold on. You mess up my live. I'm live right quick. I'm on YouTube. Yeah, that was my brother calling in. But yeah. When it come to messing with these charges and these cases and with these firearms and guns and stuff, man, that thing gets serious, man. Cause these folks playing for 10s, 20s, 30s, lives, and the chill. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And all your homeboys that you thought you was cool with, you know what I'm saying? All your homeboys that you thought was cool, that you was cool with, they getting on the stand, they telling, they testifying. Your girl that you thought was gonna stay down with you the whole time you was incarcerated, you think she gonna stay down for 10 years? Mm-mm. 20, 30? Nah, man, she gonna get lonely. And that's when she gonna find somebody like me that's free, squared up, don't drink, don't do no drugs, don't do nothing but work. You think she got me out here and she got you in there for you being a real one. You was a real one. You had to prove a point. You had to let them know that you wasn't playing. You was a real one. Be ready to give your life away, man. Go ahead on and hit the like button. Share this video out. We trying to get this message to these young cats one at a time if that's what it takes. But I'm trying to keep y'all out this setting right here, that courtroom setting. I'm trying to keep y'all out that courtroom setting. You know what I'm saying? You don't want it. You don't want it. It's demon time until you go sit in that courtroom. That cat boy, he's scared for his life. Cause he know at any given time, whoever on the case with him, they could break and they gonna tell everything. They gonna tell everything. He the one that they want. Somebody is going to tell. Believe that. Somebody is going to tell everything. Because when the prosecution see the weakest link, when the prosecution see that weak link, you understand that? They're gonna offer that weak link 10 years. They're gonna offer the weak one 10 years just to get that conviction.
I'm going to publish the exterior
And we back with more
from
evidence.
channel 4, 2018, 1026, 0217.
Excuse me, you're able to see? Yes, all right.
All right, looks like they are in a recess, so we may run it back, man. Let me see how many views, view check, view count. We check that view count. If y'all interested in me doing more videos like this. Uh-oh. Let's see, and we back. Oh, now we back. That's the replay. They're replaying. All right, all right, all right. That is a replay. They are replaying his testimony. That is a detective in the case, man. All right, this is what I'm gonna say about this little case, man. I hate to see young brothers put themselves in this situation. Okay, you be having a choice to make, and a lot of times y'all don't know what's behind that mystery door. Mystery door number two. You don't know what's behind that door, and y'all steady taking penitentiary chances with y'all life. You steady taking penitentiary chances. You steady just doing a lot of dumb cowardly stuff. It is real in that courtroom. It is a ball game that you not ready for. Them people go to school for that. They go to school for that. They go to school to be able to lock you up for the rest of your life. And a lot of you cats, y'all keep on playing this game, but most of y'all playing it and y'all ain't never played it before, so you don't know what's behind that mystery door. Stop playing mysteries with your life. There's a better way. So, anyway, we're going to be back at it. Who knows what time? It could be later on today, it could be tomorrow, whatever. You know, if y'all want to see me do more content like this, I need them views. I need them views to come up. What's good? What's good, man? What is going on? Yeah, I need them views to come up, man. If y'all looking for more content like this, because we got to get on it. I've been neglecting my channel. I got to 19,000, and then I stopped because I had to do some other stuff with running a landscaping business. I had to leave that truck driving alone for right now, but I'm back and I'm trying to help y'all through this channel with the message that I got, because I spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time, the better part of my 20s, most of my 30s. Yes, get your CDL. Get your CDL for sure. All you got to do is go to tech school. Go to tech school and get it, man. That's a anywhere from 4 to 8 week course. When I went through, it was a when I went through, it was a 4 week course. It was an 8 week course. I'm sorry, but now that same school that I went to got 4 week courses. So it's all about how long how fast you pick up the information, but getting your CDL is very, very possible. I got my CDL in 2014. I went and worked for Schneider. Drove for about a year. Then my last 2 years there, I became a trainer, training people how to drive tractor trailers. I got an award for it in 2016. Um, I was so good at it, they didn't promote me to the next step. Because my goal is, if I'm gonna work for you, I'm trying to work my way up through the ranks. Okay, Rollmaster. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get that for sure. But yeah, yeah. I try to work my way up through the ranks because I could run the whole company. You know what I'm saying? So they wanted me to stay being a trainer, and I left. I went and got a truck. 6 months later, went and got another truck. 6 or 7 months later, when it got a third truck. So my I had one truck, pulling calls, hauling calls and everything. Me and my brother used to haul calls throughout the South. And then in my 218 wheelers, I had two former students driving the 218 wheelers throughout the South. Hey, I lost all that. But do you think I turned back to the street life? No, I did not turn back to the street life. Yeah. Yeah, they don't want you to own nothing, man, but you got to keep going. It's all up to the individual, man. Every time you fall down, you got to get back up. And that's what I do. That's what I do. I lost my trucking business. I'm talking about lost it. I lost it. I had to pick the phone up and tell those two people, two companies that I was buying the trucks from, look, your truck is in Tennessee. The other truckers in Louisiana, go get them, because I'm not about to let this kill me. I sold my car hauling trailer. I got out the business because it was so stressful, and it was so much going on at that time. I had to let it go. Sometimes you got to let it stuff go and walk away from it, and keep going to maintain your sanity. You know what I'm saying? You got to maintain your sanity in life, man. And I just felt like I had to step away from that for a minute. I went and drove buses for the city of Atlanta for 2 years in the height of the pandemic. Got a lot of stories about that. But I had to get that up too because I was so good at driving the buses. Had drove probably 30 to 40% of the routes in the city of Atlanta. And they didn't want to promote me. Appreciate it. So they didn't want to promote me. Every time if I'm asking you for a promotion and I know I qualify a promotion and you don't give it to me, I'm leaving. Cause I know my worth. I know I can come in there and I can run a company, you know. Um, so I left and went to driving hazardous materials back and forth from Georgia to Tennessee. That is very dangerous. The job after that, driving up and down the East Coast from Florida all the way to New Hampshire and back. Um, Gave that up. Trucking is not for me. I'm not saying that it's not good. Okay, Savannah GA in the building. That's what's up, man. Yeah, I used to go to the Port of Savannah all the time. All of the time. Port of Savannah, man. All of the time. It's a lot of container stuff going down there, but for some reason the lane between Atlanta and Savannah dried up. I used to when I was owning my trucks, when I had my first truck, when I was on my first truck, I drove to Savannah from Atlanta to Savannah was an easy $1,000. Easy. 4 hours, 4 hours tops. Go from Atlanta to Savannah, $1,000, and can catch a load from Savannah back to Atlanta for about $700-800, and can do it in one day if everything going right. So in trucking, man, yeah, do that, man. Go get your CDL. And at the time I came in, it was making $600 or $700 a week. Then I started making $1,000 a week, $1,200 a week. Then I became a trainer, started making about $1,400-1,500 a week. Then I got my own trucks, and for a minute I was making $1,000 a day. Then I started making $2,000. I think the most I ever made in one day of trucking was probably pretty close to $3,000 in one day. Yeah, but it's a lot of stress come behind that. You definitely want to go. Yeah, you definitely, my boy, go to trucking school, learn everything that you can learn, right? Learn everything that you can learn in trucking school. Go and get with a good company and drive their trucks for about a year. When you come out of that, once you come away from that, if you feel like you can own some stuff, if you want to own your own truck, do it. But make sure that you work for a company for an entire year before you go do it. My cousin used to tell me 2 years, 2 years of help, but at least minimum work for the company for a year, learn everything. Run around in their truck, run across the south, run up the East Coast. You got to see what lane you want to do with that trucking. So when you start your own business, you'll have a lot of stuff to go on. Also, ask them different company drivers whenever you pull up to the fuel station to gas your truck up. If it's a truck that you want to see, ask questions. Ask questions. You know what I'm saying? Ask questions to them drivers about them companies, or how they specific truck run, or how they lanes go, or what type of money you making, or just ask anything. See, before I started owning my trucks, I asked questions to these drivers that was out here. I asked questions all day, every day. Every time I stopped, I found somebody with experience to talk to. So always be willing to ask questions and take notes on everything. But yeah, my boy, if you going into trucking, and you don't mind being on the road, because it's a work in progress. Everybody that come out of trucking school think that they're going to get out and get a local job. That's not gonna happen. I'm gonna say 99% that it won't happen. Because driving locally, believe it or not, a lot of people do not believe this. Driving locally is way harder than driving over the road. So most of the time, most of these companies, their insurance companies, the insurance won't cover you if you don't have the over the road experience. So be prepared to get out there and go see most of the 48, at least see 30 states. You know what I'm saying? So and that's one of the things that I'm thankful for about me going to truck driving school, because I got a chance to see a lot of stuff that people don't see on a regular basis and get paid for it. So it was a good experience. But for me at this present time in my life, trucking is yeah, have patience. Yeah. Trucking is not for me. It's not for me. My kids getting big. I got a 15-year-old 10th grader, playing high school ball, wrestling and everything. My daughter is 8. Um, just family itself is the reason why it's not for me. I don't want to miss my kids growing up. You know what I'm saying? So, but trucking is good to see the country, to learn stuff, to learn about different things, to be able to see and have different experiences, man. So by all means, bro, go to school. I'm trying to keep whatever it takes to keep young brothers out of prison, because I took that route before I had all this knowledge. Before I was doing this and that, I was in prison. I messed up my younger years being in the streets. Thank God I never killed or I never raped anybody, but the wrong situation could have came up where I did. I didn't have a drug problem. I didn't have an alcohol problem. I still don't drink and smoke. But I made mistakes. I was living in the streets. I was doing street stuff. I don't have to speak on it because I'm not proud of it, but it is what it is. It's my past. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah, it'll take you away from your family, so be prepared for that. But I'm not proud of my past at all. So, it's a couple of people that's trying to not trying, but they trying to get me to write this book. The book is like 80% finished. I just got to put some finishing touches on it, but I'm not proud of my past. You know what I'm saying? So I'm struggling with getting that book out. So I don't mind telling my story through YouTube and through other social media sites. If you're not following me, go ahead on hit them other sites up. I'm everywhere, XconMedia or Big Brother G Money. Um, and I'm just trying to pass along a positive message to these young cats out here. The streets is not it. The street code is gone. Ain't no more street code, man. So in any event, I got some things to do. I got some phone calls to make. I probably will be back today, tomorrow, or whatever. Thank you for joining. Appreciate my brother. Good luck. Peace and blessings. As you in truck driving school and your trucking endeavors, man. I hope you get it. Um, yeah, and that's just it, man. We're gonna be back at it in a little while. I gotta take a little intermission because I got some stuff that I got to do. Appreciate you for tapping in, like, share. Please subscribe. I need to get I'm stuck at 19.2. I need y'all to move the needle a little bit. Hit that like button. Let's get it. Let's go.